GC Dub. Oh my goodness. Hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition. It's been far too long here at the Ultraviolet Union, your GCW. I guess we're calling them pay-per-views. Yeah, we'll call them pay-per-views, because why not? But welcome to the Ultraviolet Union, your GCW pay-per-view review squad here at the BC WrestlePod Networking Conglomeration Syndicate thingamabob we do every single day of the week, including Thursdays for the next 3 weeks. So we're not catching a break. It's summer, and we're just getting started. I am not your lead host, Mikey, but I am doing the ones and twos for this evening. And, you know, a part of this whole entire GCC dub thing that we got going on here is our fearless leader, Andrew, who's all the way at the top, who's going to lead us. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to have a good conversation. So he is at the top of the pecking order for this one. And then sandwiched in between Andrew and I is the newest member of our Ultraviolet Union. We converted him after a whole entire GCW marathon that was during Vegas weekend back in April in Adolfo. Adolfo, welcome. I am so happy we converted you.
¿Qué pasa, mi gente? We're here for some GC dub. Let's start talking about the violence.
Yes. So before we get into covering Tournament of Survival 10 and Cage of Survival 4, because it's a double dose tonight, if you like what you see on the screen here, make sure to follow us all over the places. You can subscribe to us and hit the bell notification on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitch. And we're testing out Kick as well. So it was recommended by a friend of mine to test it out. So we gonna see what happens with all of the things. But we know that time is a construct that not many people can afford to have as of late. So if you can't watch us live or go back and watch our edited videos, you could still be kept up to date as well as informed of the major talking points on the social medias. The clips that we post there are pretty much all the important talking points we end up talking about throughout the review, as well as reading the report cards for all the weeklies and the pay-per-views. And, you know, some other shenanigans that may or may not be occurring as well on the internet. We also have some merchandise. So if that tickles your fancy, you can get your merch at bcwrestlepod.com/fourthwall.com. Not only do we have merch for all of the review teams, you know, I'm looking to get me an Ultraviolet Union one because it's total kawaii and violent. It is very great. Inspired by one of my favorite wrestlers of GCW, Maki Ito. Love her so much. But we also dropped our Hot Boy Summer collection, which is just, you know, just in time for the summer tank tops, t-shirts, bucket hats with our favorite luchador mascot enjoying some fun in the sun. And last but certainly not least, we also dropped our Pride 2025 collection, which is titled We Grapple with Pride. It is in celebration of Pride Month here in the world and the United States. And part of the proceeds from every item sold in that collection will be donated to charity. And BC WrestlePod has selected to donate the proceeds to Point of Pride, which is a charity organization that offers financial assistance for trans health and gender affirming care. We believe in being charitable here at BC WrestlePod. So again, anything you buy from that collection will be donated, and this collection will be available forever. It is not going away at the end of June. It will continue to be here, and we will continue to donate proceeds from that collection to Point of Pride. Now that I'm done talking, I'm going to tag in Andrew because, yeah. So my voice is shot, my nose is plugged, but we are here to cover some violence. So I'm going to tag Andrew. And Andrew, why don't you take it away?
All right, yeah. No, this was an exciting weekend. We had 2 shows. We also had the Hall of Fame for the Deathmatch, for Deathmatch Wrestling, presented by GCW. So we'll just jump into it because we got a whole tournament and a whole other night to get through. And this was Adolfo's first TOS. And
yeah, my first TOS.
Yep. And Mikey, this was, well, you didn't watch this one with us live. I was going to say this was your first one watching it with us live.
So this was my first tournament of Survival ever, and I did not get to watch it live with you guys, but I did catch up on it the following day to prepare myself for Cage.
So we'll just jump right into it. We, as they did, is we got the rubber match between John Wayne Murdoch and Mr. Danger. Each one of these guys came in with one victory over the other. John Wayne Murdoch, obviously, well-known deathmatch wrestler. Mr. Danger is a little bit younger, fresher to the scene, but still a deathmatch wrestler and been super impressive to everyone that's been watching, especially I know Mike and I enjoyed getting to see Mr. Danger. This match was, I thought it was an awesome kickoff to the show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Lots of action, really good storytelling. And Adolfo, this was your first glimpse of how GCW does death matches when they really pour into it, set up the ring for it. So what were you thinking going into this match? The delivery of what we got to see with the ring set up before they even got into it, and this match in general.
So thinking back to Vegas weekend and Joey Janela's spring break, because they had the Sabu match there. I thought we were gonna get, some things strewn about, a barbed wire table, here and there, chairs, doors, tables, things of that ilk, if you will. I was not ready for the artistry that I was presented with this entire weekend. So first, I got to give just a general shout out to the production crew of GCW and how they painstakingly set up every ring differently for every match. I mean, they had the same things in there. Every match had the light tubes. There were tables. Some matches, had like the tables wrapped barbed wire. Some had the tables with the gusset plates. But even though all those items were still available, each setup was different. It was artistically done the way they were set up. I mean, we had talked about it on the live. I was just really impressed with that, with the taping of all the tubes together, which evolved to the big tower of tubes, which evolved to like the rakes with the tubes on them. So just a general shout out to the production crew of GCW of these matches for the hard work that they did, which added to my enjoyment. It wasn't because other than Vegas weekend. Death matches that I'm used to is just kind of like, there's barbed wire kind of like thrown about, there's stuff under the ring that people, grab, your bag of tacks or your bag of thumbnails, and then like most of the time the wrestlers will bring their weapons in with them, like they'll wrap their hands in barbed wire and whatnot. So to see everything set up, and the different things set up, like in this, we had the scaffolding that they went up on, which was, added to the excitement of it, right? Because you saw the scaffolding and you're like, that scaffolding is coming into place somewhere in this match, but when it didn't disappoint. It was very thrilling. It was very, please, especially being as avid wrestling fans as we've seen, because we have seen when those high altitude attempts have failed beautifully, spectacularly, you know what I mean? But and John Wayne Murdoch and Mr. Danger were everyone in this tournament was an artist in their craft. Okay, and you, Andrew, again, as we were talking on the live, you had said it best, where GCW does a great job of, it's not just people walking out beating each other with light tubes and getting bloody and that's it. You do have wrestling in there, which we did. I was thoroughly impressed with Mr. Danger, how even like drenched in blood with all that shards of glass from the light tubes and everything all over the place, he still got up on the top turnbuckle. He still did some planchas. He did some topes. John Wayne Murdoch, I mean, he just, man, the gravel in that dude's guts, man. And we almost saw his guts because he cut himself really really good, and he showed it to us too, because he stuck his finger, he fingered himself. I think we're deep enough in the stream, I can say that. But
Pause. Pause.
But yeah, no, he gashed himself really good, on his side there. But yeah, it was, stuff like this, I like to akin it to a cake. A lot of times people make a cake and it's a subpar cake, and to cover the cake, they will drown it in frosting, right? To me, like all that other stuff, the light tubes, the gusset plates, the weapons, all that stuff is frosting. The wrestling is the cake. And in this match and other matches, we got good amount of cake with a good amount of frosting. So
well said. To your point, Adolfo, and I know some of us in the BC land have some theater involvement and everything, and I think to what you talked about with these setups for this, it's like there's scenic and there's props design that are actually happening with this, and it's well thought out.
Yeah.
That was great. I enjoyed this match as well. Mikey, you know a bit more about John Wayne Murdoch and Mr. Danger. You've obviously seen them. They're kind of staples in GCW. You're familiar with kind of the feud. What did you think of this? Obviously, John Wayne Murdoch came out the victor, went on in the tournament. What did you think about this? Did you expect John Wayne Murdoch was going to win this one? Did you think was it a good direction for that? How'd you feel about that whole outcome in the match itself?
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I kind of figured that Murdoch here was going to win, though I will say we've been seeing Mr. Danger kind of get more into the deathmatch scene of GCW. We know him to be flying all over the place because literally his name is Mr. Danger. He'll jump off of anything if he's able to. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed this one too. I knew as soon as Murdoch and Danger were going to go up against each other, I'm like, okay, this is gonna get crazy, and crazy it did. Adolfo, to your point, literally, Murdoch like inserted a finger in the side of his stomach to show us, be like, "Hey guys, you want to see my guts? No, not really. Okay." I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I've seen Murdoch bloodied before, but not to the point where he's literally sticking his finger inside of his anatomy. That is not okay, sir. But I loved it. I really, really enjoyed this match. Again, I knew Murdoch was going to win, but shout out to Mr. Danger over here. I hopefully, because even though it already happened, I would like to see Mr. Danger continue to be in these death matches and put him into the Nick Gage Invitational next time we have it, which I'm super excited for down the line. This is a fun opening match, and it was a really fun way to kick off Tournament of Survival 10.
Well, and I gotta say, we saw this throughout the night, and it's a very common thing in GCW. We saw at the end of this match, even though they had been not kind of feuding, but at least training victories back and forth, they continued that respect because both these competitors went out there, and we saw throughout the tournament and even into the following evening that they respected what they were both out there to do and what they both did together, or in some cases, all three did together. So, I really appreciate how we get to see a bit of that at the end of it. But we move on from this match to a three-way death match and another opening round match with Beastman, Dr. Redacted, and Otis Cogar. This one was an interesting one. I didn't expect these three to be facing off each other. And I thought this, this can be a little challenging to do three-way matches and death matches. There's a lot of action going on and like pacing to figure it out. Obviously, Dr. Redacted, we've seen him work his way into this tournament and kind of similar to Mr. Danger, earn kind of the respect of both the locker room and the fans. Beastman is a pretty big fan favorite, and obviously Otis has not made many fans, at least of his actions, but his in-ring work, it's definitely entertaining. So I'll go to you first, Mikey. In this match, what would you think of this three-way match, how it delivered, and how each of these competitors executed their work in a death match?
I want to first off say that it definitely was a weekend for the Cogar family, especially when we get into Cage of Survival 4. I really like this one. To your point of what you mentioned, Andrew, Dr. Redacted just organically getting over with the fans and becoming more involved in these death type of matches has been really fun to see over the progression of it. As cheesy as it was, my favorite spot is when Beastman ended up getting the bear trap stuck on himself, and it turned into a bloody mess. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody give this man a TV shot stat. Like, oh my goodness, it was wild. And of course, we're most of the time in GCW, we're focused on Atticus because he's kind of at the frontal point of a lot of the, storylines leading it for over the last couple of months or two. But it was really nice to see that for Tournament of Survival, this was the tale of Otis Cogar just doing crazy things and being a bloody mess while doing it and just delivering pain and violence upon everybody in his path, which is really, really fun. And we'll definitely talk about that as we inch ever so closer to the finals because it just got crazier and crazier and crazier. But shout out to Dr. Redacted, man. I'm really enjoying him. Beastman's great. This was a really great match. I really enjoyed this. And of course, I love Dr. Redacted's now. He's so comfortable with the fans. He's pushing them in during his entrance, which is great. I was like, mosh pit. Oh, wrong show. So I enjoyed this. This is fun.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. It is his entrance is very much of a mosh pit entrance, and you can see how he's been more and more accepted by the fans. He had some following because he was on the independents and everything. Obviously, still independent with GCW, but the reaction that he's gotten over the last 8 months to a year in GCW, he's earned a lot of respect, and I think you saw that kind of going into this tournament this weekend. So Adolfo, this at least was a bigger introduction for you, I think, for all three of these. You may have seen Otis in the Las Vegas weekend, and Mr. Redacted was there as well. But getting to see more action from them. What was your impression of them kind of in the ring, and what was your expectation and reaction to Otis Cogar coming out as the victor and kind of the way it played out with that kind of ending sequence?
All three of these wrestlers worked really well together. I was very impressed. Again, when you have death matches, they tend to kind of devolve into just like a big slop, you know. I was really impressed with how the three of these wrestlers were able to, have that chaos, but at the same time, like, yeah, we have an actual wrestling match, going on in the ring, which was definitely cool and definitely helped with my introduction to them. Beastman, he was awesome. We were talking about on the live stream when they were setting up the bear trap. Was it you or me that said, wouldn't that be ironic if Beastman got his and sure he got his hand caught into it? Dr. Redacted, I feel that as my first introduction to him, he's one of my favorites. Because he was just, I love his feeling. I love the groove that he comes out with, that whole pushing everyone. And, it's just, like having grown up in that speed metal, thrash metal, going to shows, being involved in my share of pits, I felt that kinship. Even while watching through the it's not even the TV, through the internet, Otis Cogar, I want to save my thoughts on him until the final, but he too, like I said, wrestled really well, especially. Again, we mentioned this in the stream. I am thoroughly impressed with how all these wrestlers are dealing not only with the pain of doing this type of combat, right? But with the added of, now I got to fight through the pain of like a gusset plate getting jammed in my head, a bear trap getting clamped on my arm. Hell, earlier tonight I was in the back with my partner, and we were rehearsing for our show this weekend, and I had damn gnats in my eyes, and I was being a big baby about it. To see these guys just smash light tube towers. I think this is the first match that had the light tube tower. But to see these wrestlers smash these light tube towers on them and just like keep going, it was really impressive. Another great match. These three worked really well together. Very impressive to me.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great. As you alluded to, obviously Otis Cogar came out victorious, picked up the victory to move on to the next round. And so then we moved on to our third of 4 opening round matches, which saw the Bev versus Daiju Wakamatsu. For me, as someone who regularly watches GCW and a lot of independents, these were some of the lesser known performers for me. Especially because they're not super regulars of GCW. The Bev has been in some of his local shows when GCW has shown up there. And so he's kind of popped up here and there and sporadically. So for me, this was kind of an introduction as well. I thought this was a spectacular matchup, and maybe it's because, expectations for myself was low. And I'll ask both of you, because I'm pretty sure both of you are equally unfamiliar with these two performers. what was your impression of these two? Not just in the death match itself, but as wrestling professionals, performers, and then of this match as a whole, as an opening round match for that tournament and how they delivered. So, whoever would like to go first?
I'll go first on that. Again, these two worked really well. Yeah, my introduction to the Bev and Daiju Wakamatsu worked really well together. Especially doing. I could imagine, and I might be wrong. And if I'm wrong, please, go in the comments and tell me I'm wrong. I appreciate it, right? But I could akin, doing a local wrestling match to doing something like this, a GCW event, kind of like doing a production in your like local home, town theater, and then all of a sudden, oh hey, we're doing this on off Broadway, not even Broadway, but like off Broadway, where it's just like, whoa, so, and for that, I feel that these two worked really well in that setting, in this bigger setting. They had some great fan interactions. I know Daiju Wakamatsu really got over with the fans. It was great. I think this was the match that introduced the light tubes on the rakes.
Yes.
Yeah, which was just, there was just like, it was just see them flop. It was good. It was good.
I gotta say, some of my favorite moments from this watch along, especially because it was the first jumping into this, was watching your reactions to every new iteration, every new aspect that was being added to each match. It was just like, it was like the kid opening the presents, and it's just like each one is like, what is this? What's this? What did I have in this? So that was a lot of fun. Always a part I enjoy of introducing people to GCW, especially these kind of shows. So, Mikey, what were your impressions with this match?
As with both of you, this is my first real introduction to the Bev, aka Bobby Beverly, as we've come to learn to call him throughout the whole show, and Daiju Wakamatsu. I'm always really impressed and have so much fun when we get our Japanese talent to come on over from GCW, of course, and it spans all types of stuff, right? We've seen the cutesy, funny death matchiness of Maki Ito, of course, my girl, Miss Rina, love her. And even when we get other girls from the promotions too, like Miyu Yamashita coming in to kick people's heads in. I've also been really enjoying, like, for these death type of matches that we were getting in these tournaments, that they send the Japanese talent to. Like, Andrew, you and I, when we did the watch along for the Nick Gage Invitational too, that for opening match between Rina and her opponent, both in mastering the arts of Japanese deathmatch wrestling, where we had glass in private areas, we had like the traditional, they took shoes off and were walking on glass and thumbtacks and all kinds of stuff. Hair got hot. It was great. And I love that during this whole match, while the Bev ended up winning this thing, I love that Daiju just like no-sold a couple of the spots. He's just like, hit me harder. He's just like, but then again, like, and I don't know if it was this match or later in the evening where we got like a historical like promo package, be like, here's the art of the death match and its origination. I was like, I keep forgetting that a lot of these crazy things happen in Japan. Like, these things happen in Japan, and it was so much fun. And just as a small point, because I'm a big person who loves presentation of characters and stuff like that, this picture made me super interested in the Bev, just because I was like, listen, if he ends up being a walking wrestling like preacher man, I'm here for this. And that's kind of what the picture gives. And then he was just a total badass in here. I was like, all right, I'm sold. Bev, I'm now a fan. I got to see you more in GCW. So this one was a lot of fun, because I think as far as opening round matches go, this was kind of like the closest we get to like, which is crazy to say, to like a very traditional death match, especially incorporating the elements that we've come to see from Japanese death wrestling as well. So this was a lot of fun for me to watch. Again, I'm gonna be saying that a lot of this, so this is good. But before that, though, homie in the chat, Agent Lo-Fi, he watched some of this. It was good. Hi, homie. Welcome. Congrats. Like our unofficial fourth co-host for CMLL and jumping into all the other stuff as well. So thank you. But yeah, that is my thesis on this whole thing.
Well, yeah, and to your point, Mikey, we've seen it. You talked about it in the Nick Cage Invitational. We saw it with this Tournament of Survival, Cage of Survival, and we've seen it with a few others like Tournament of Survival, Weekend of Survival, Survival Weekend, whatever you want to call it. Last year when we had people like Drew Parker, we have a lot of international death match wrestlers come in. We had the main event for Cage of Survival, which we'll get to. So we see wrestlers coming from all around the world to wrestle in GCW, and it's fun when we get to see the people who specialize in some of these unique forms of wrestling as well. Which shout out to GCW. We talked about it all weekend, but the representation across the board in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So with this match, the Bev does come out victorious, picks up a big victory, moves on in the tournament. And then we get to our final opening round match of Tournament of Survival, which was a surprise. We knew it was going to be an Ultraviolet Championship match, and as we were told that the title, at least as long as Matt Tremont was holding it, was going to be defended throughout the tournament, which is a very common thing in GCW tournaments.
That was cool.
We saw that in the J-Cup tournament with Masha. So puts a little extra spice, a little extra risk, a little extra excitement in there. Matt Tremont won this title and since has been defending it almost every show, or at least every weekend that GCW has shows. And we got a surprise. We saw who we thought was going to be his opponent, which was a different boy, Jimmy Lloyd, come out. Returning to his kind of more classic deathmatch roots. And so we thought it was going to be Matt Tremont versus Jimmy Lloyd. And then I think we got what was probably one of our biggest surprises of the weekend. I would say it's up there with another one that may have happened, but we'll talk about that company.
Look at the dude in the background. Dude in the back.
Yeah. This is the best shot ever. This dude is amazing, and he was exactly me in this moment. All of us in this moment, too.
Yeah.
This, what this reminded me of, Mikey, and it's funny because it happened in the same building, was when Jordan Gray showed up in GCW.
We lost our collective mind during Homecoming watch along that weekend.
Yeah. So I love that GCW pulls this out, especially because they are the best at getting people who have especially been recently released from those that shall not be named, and using them very well, and them getting to do things that they wouldn't have been able to do in their previous companies, like face off against Matt Tremont and Jimmy Lloyd in the opening round of the Tournament Survival for the Ultraviolet Championship match in a death match. So, Mikey, I'm going to come to you first, especially because you are the watcher of all things, but you are also, you are very heavily into, her former home, especially NXT, where I think it was one of the last, times I saw her, which was when she got injured.
And she was treated and booked correctly, yes.
Yeah. But, we recently found out that she got released, and she is making a world tour, and she is not slowing down at all. She shows up here. So, Mikey, what was your initial reaction? I don't know if this was able to stay a secret for you before you got to watch it, but either hearing about it or actually seeing it, seeing Shotzi show up here. And then what did you think of the match, her getting to step into this death match and go up against, two solid deathmatch wrestlers?
So I'm going to start off with the match itself, because I thought this was a really fun match, and it was really nice to see not only just Shotzi, but also now that he's separated himself from Matt Cardona and that whole entire storyline that we've been getting with Jimmy Lloyd, kind of going back to his roots of some sort, and then both of them taking on Matt Tremont in this triple threat for a spot in the next round, but also for that GCW Ultraviolet champion. This was a really fun one. This was really, really great. I love this match. Of course, to no surprise, Matt Tremont moved on, but it was really nice to see Jimmy kind of finally complete his reversion back to his original character, going over the shows, kind of just taking layer upon layer of what he developed within his identity of being part of the Deathmatch Royal family with him and Steph and Manson, all of them. And then it was just really nice to see Shotzi. And I think that's where I'm going to spend the most of the remainder of my time here is that Shotzi's out here living her best life. Commentary, especially shout out to Veda Scott. Love them, her, love Veda so much. But Veda reminded us that 24 hours prior to this, Shotzi was at Hood Slam. And then she is literally about to be at other GCW shows. That just got announced. Banging in Little Rock. It's going to be her versus Atticus Cogar in a match, which is going to be gnarly to watch. She also went on the social media. This is her final death match, and the only way she will come back and do another one is if Nick Gage comes out and fights her, which will be crazy to watch.
Yeah.
Andrew's like, I want to see it, but also no. But also more importantly too, because yes, Andrew, I am the person that watches all of the things. She's going up against Giselle Shaw at the next MLP Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling pay-per-view for that Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling Women's Championship. And I'm like, oh my God, why have we not gotten this sooner? But I enjoyed this match. This was so much fun. And outside of Crosswave, Shotzi is our girl, man. I've resonated with Shotzi so much because she represents the misfits, and I feel like all of us here resonate with her in that aspect as well, because at one point and another, in some form, we're all misfits, and I love her so much, and finally she gets to just do whatever she wants.
And I think probably out of everyone in Bi-Conics, I've probably seen the least amount of Shotzi. Because I haven't been able to follow her as much as everybody else just because of what I've covered. But she really comes across as the nicest bad girl. She seems like such a genuinely nice person, but also is like total rock and roll, just that feeling about it. So even if you are limited familiarity with her, you just still want to root for her. So I totally agree. Adolfo, so obviously no Shotzi. You're introduced a bit more to Jimmy Lloyd and really got to see the, shall we say, meat and potatoes of Matt Tremont. What was your impression of currently, I would say, the king of the death match? He's got the ultraviolet title, and he's done nearly everything, and we'll talk more about how much more he did, but he's done nearly everything in death matches. What was your impression of these performers as deathmatch wrestlers and this match itself?
So again, they all worked really well together. The match itself, really good in, again, keeping the main action in the ring so we knew what was going on. Matt Tremont is my favorite and deathmatch wrestler. And he I know we said this later on in when we were watching it, but he wins this and then turns around and does another, almost immediately does another match, like after spilling all that blood out of his body, right? By the end of the night, I had commented to Andrew, if he shows up on Sunday and just kind of like does a quick spot and like sits for the rest, I'm good, because the man has earned it. He has earned it. I've also loved how they did not shy away from taking it to Shotzi. A lot of the bigger name companies, when they do the intergender matches, when you finally get a male and a female in the ring. It's quick and it's very, very light, you know. Whereas here, they were wrestlers, you know. Like you said, the gender representation is phenomenal because it's not they're wrestlers. They're wrestlers, and they're there to wrestle a death match. And by the gods, that's what they did, and it was a bloody spectacle, and it was great. And everyone walked out, you know, in pieces, and we love them for it. So, but yeah, I love Matt Tremont. I want the story of how he built up that big ass scar tissue on his forehead. I got to find that story somewhere because that's just ridiculous. And then was this the match that it got cut open and it's like
No,
like,
that was the main
fountain?
event.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah.
No, this was the match where Jimmy Lloyd kept trying to stick a fork into it.
Yes,
Yes.
Forks, yes.
Yes.
Forks and bamboo skewers, man. Whew.
Yeah. So we did see Matt Tremont retain the Ultraviolet title, defeating Jimmy Lloyd and Shotzi. Very impressive. And as you kind of segued into, the thing that we kept having to remember throughout this was the fact that the people that were winning these matches were having to go on and potentially wrestle 2 more matches.
Yeah.
2 more death matches. And so I did see some comments that people were talking about in some of the reviews of the next 2 matches that we had that were a little shorter matches compared to some of the previous matches in the opening round.
Yep.
But also giving credit to the fact that this is a death match, a one-night death match tournament, and so it does make sense. So as we head into our next semifinal match, this was a death match between the winners of round 1, Otis Kogar and John Wayne Murdoch. This was a panes of glass death match. So we did have, as you can see there, multiple panes of glass, which did not take long to get used. And we got to see Otis stepping up against the Duke of Hardcore, or as he was called now, the American Deathmatch Ace. And so we got to see two not small guys go into war against each other after coming out of wars against other people to get into this round. So Adolfo, I'll go back to you on the start of this one. What was your impression of these two coming out after having already won their opening round death matches, and seeing Otis go against another deathmatch veteran like John Wayne Murdoch?
So again, they were really good dance partners. The match, these next round matches were shorter. I was completely fine with that because those beginning matches were long and I'm not going to say that they were marathon in like, you know, it was like a big symphony, but they were a marathon as in like early 80s Metallica songs, you know, where it's just speed for 15 minutes straight, you know. So I appreciated that they afforded them the shorter matches, you know, in this next round. So I appreciate that. Yeah, the panes of glass, I was wondering when they were coming, and they came, and I was like, oh, here we go. There's the panes of glass. I'm thoroughly amazed how they are able to toss each other into those panes of glass and no one comes up with like a shard like jammed into them or anything like that. It's just like I don't know what type of, you know, voodoo magic is done for that, but that was really impressive. But yeah, these two really worked well. We saw Otis Kogar showing some good ring acumen in that, you know, he knew that Murdoch was sliced up, and he went for it, to soften him up. And yeah, that was good.
Nice. So, Mikey, same to you. We came into this, both these guys are already kind of beat up. To Adolfo's point, we did see Otis go to those well-known injuries that John Wayne Murdoch was nursing. And we did see Otis Carter come out of this victorious, which was a surprise to me, only in the fact that John Wayne Murdoch is such an established veteran of deathmatch wrestling.
Right.
Not so much in the sense that Otis is a big part of the current storylines going on. But what was your reaction to this match and then the outcome of this match, meaning that Otis was going to obviously move on to the finals?
I think it was a pleasant surprise for me, and if you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, when they were going over the winners, Murdoch has won this thing twice, and didn't he win them back-to-back years too? Like he won them back-to-back.
I will have to. I'll double check on that for you.
But so of course he's the favorite to win this. So I was pleasantly surprised to see Otis win here. And yes, like Adolfo, the panes of glass. I'm like, no, but yes, give it to me. Listen. Everybody know here at Ultraviolet Union knows, like, I love me all kinds of wrestling. I love me some good stuff. Sometimes I like wince at certain things happening, but I'm a sick freak, and I love me some violence. I have a propensity for violence, and this whole weekend gave me what I wanted. But specifically this match, glass panes is one of my favorite things that GCW throws out, because I was just like, oh, that's gonna hurt you. That's gonna hurt, and hurt it did. So again, I appreciate the shorter matches. They're like, listen, we got a lot. We got to wrap this up. People are going to be bleeding every single time, so we can't afford to be like somebody needing a blood transfusion because they lost too much blood. So this was a great one, and I was excited to see what Otis would do, because with this win, it solidified himself in the finals. So I was excited at this point of the evening, or when I was watching it, I was excited to see where it would go from here.
To your point, Mikey, not Nick Gage, John Wayne Murdoch was the 2022 Nick Gage Invitational winner for Tournament 7, and for 2024, so last year's Tournament of Survival 9.
Very interesting.
Yes, so definitely has the resume. He's also a former Ultraviolet champion as well. So this was a big victory for Otis Cogar, coming out of that three-way match that he defeated Beastman and Dr. Redacted as well. So we moved on from this match to the last semifinal, which was Matt Tremont defending the Ultraviolet title in a death match against the Bev, which was kind of fun to get to see the Bev basically not only get a shot to move on in the tournament, but also get a title shot. Which, just like I said in the beginning, makes each of these rounds that title's up for grabs a little more exciting, and we knew that possibly meant that Otis was going to get a title shot as well. These two had the crap beat out of them and beat the crap out of their opponents in the opening rounds, and went in there and continued it. And it didn't take long for Matt Tremont to get reopened up, and both these guys to bleed. So Adolfo, I'll come back to you on this one. This was now your first chance to really get to see Matt Tremont in a singles match go against someone like the Bev and get to see more of his action, even though it was a shorter match. Even though it was shorter, he still wasn't sharing the ring with two other competitors. Did this match kind of increase your appreciation of Matt Tremont, and to that also the Bev? Like,
oh yeah,
did this move their stock up for you, and was this an exciting match for you?
Without a doubt. I much like the Best of the Super Junior that we watched earlier. When I went in, a bunch of those wrestlers in Group A, I wouldn't know them from Adam. Now I know who they are. The Bev and Matt Tremont, I know who they are now. They are solidified in my mind. They wrestled really hard. Was this the match where there was the scaffolding on the outside, and they did the door spot?
That's
No.
That was-
Cage of Survival.
that would be
It was
Cage.
Cage of Survival. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It all kind of gets mixed.
Yeah.
In
There's
after a
lots of there's lots of violence.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
lots of
there's
violence
so-
in this weekend.
It's a
Was-
fog of
did-
blood.
Did the gusset plate in the head in this one, and
Yeah.
the baseball bat with the gusset plate was in the other
Yeah.
one? Anyway, but yeah, no, this good great match, great. Also really cool, which I didn't mention earlier, that Matt Tremont was defending his title, and he defended it. He was defending it all the way through. I believe that's the first time I've actually seen that happen. Because most of the time, if a champ, if it goes into a tournament situation, they'll suspend his title type thing, or they'll suspend their title type situation, where if they lose in the tournament, they don't lose the title. So good on Matt to, if you're wrestling me, you're wrestling for the title as well. So that added another layer onto it of, oh man, is this going to be the match that we see a new hardcore champ, or is he going to retain? So yeah.
And so, Mikey, we came into this one obviously setting up the finals. And just based on experience with these two wrestlers and kind of knowing who they are in GCW, I kind of think that we had the impression that Matt Tremont was probably kind of come out victorious in this. But the way that the match was put together, was it able to keep you excited in the moment of where this match was headed and not think about like the likely outcomes? And what did you think of like how this match kind of completed?
I really enjoyed this match. I'm going to keep it short and sweet for this one. Of course, my favorite spot is what's pictured here when they both got in and started punching each other while sitting in the chair. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed this match too. And again, what I love is that GCW is probably one of the only promotions that puts these titles on the line in the tournaments like this too. Andrew, you and I got to see this during the Nick Gage Invitational when Brandon Kirk and every death match he was in put that title on the line. And to our surprise and amazement, because he lost it in the final rounds to Sawyer Wreck, who we would find out would be retiring that night anyways, which made me cry. And they let her retire as champion, which was great. Love to see that. And funny enough, it was because of that Matt Tremont was able to win this thing at the People versus GCW earlier this year in that 9-person ladder match with the unification of the GCW Ultraviolent Championship. And then it was Maki's title too. Yeah, Maki Ito's hardcore title. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And so this was a really fun match. I really enjoyed this. I think this match made me even a bigger fan of Mr. Bobby Beverly. Bobby! No, but I walked away loving the Bev out of this match, and Matt Tremont. I know we talked about it when Matt won the title at the People versus GCW, Andrew. We weren't sure the direction that he was going to head as champion because we did not peg him as a winner to be the one walking away as champion. But I am so happy that he is proving us wrong because I've been really enjoying his run as champion so far. And this match definitely is another notch in the belt of this was a really, really bloodied, fun match to watch.
Well, and to that, we, leading up to this tournament, we saw Matt Tremont was really building up a lot of the other competitors that were in this tournament as they were winning death matches and kind of proving that they belonged in the tournament. And we also found out, leading up to this and then in promos, about what it meant for Matt Tremont to win this tournament because of what he has done. And, he's essentially held every title in GCW. He's won all kinds of, death matches and death match tournaments and wanting to win the Tournament of Survival. So this meant a lot to him. And then something else that this match set up and really built up for us was the stipulation for the main event. which Matt Tremont got the idea from cinder blocks that were used in this match to set up the concrete hell death match for the finals of the Tournament of Survival, with him putting his ultraviolet title on the line against Otis Kogar for the final match of the Tournament of Survival 10, which meant that they were going to line the ring with pavers, concrete pavers.
Perfectly lined. Perfectly lined.
They were meticulous about setting those up, and it was pretty wonderful. They also wrapped the ropes in barbed wire, and of course had plenty of light tubes and wolf ball bats with gusset plates and thumbtacks and all kinds of exciting things. So leading into this, both of these guys had kind of been beaten down, bloodied, cut open. Mikey, coming to you first, because we started talking about Matt Tremont already. I don't want to say he's kind of going against a younger version of himself, but it kind of felt like that. We got these thick boys facing off against each other, who just really seem to not be dissuaded by any kind of violence. And as non-traditional as it seems, Matt Tremont's kind of the hero coming into this against Otis. What was your impression of the match itself, but also how Otis was able to, after this tournament, going into this match, so he's already wrestled 2 death matches, perform and keep up with someone like Matt Tremont, who is a living deathmatch legend?
100%. So, I mean, you mentioned it before. I feel that I would say less of looking in a mirror, but I feel like these are 2 people who are on the same paths, but different forces have influenced, and their modus operandi is completely different in how they view death matches. So, for instance, they were on the same path. It's just the different forces and the paths that they chose and the influences both of them had to kind of shape their view on what, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but the sacredity of deathmatch wrestling. Because on the one hand, you have Matt Tremont, who is, for all intents and purposes, the hero or the main character or the good guy, whatever terms you want to use. And he holds deathmatch as much as he puts his blood, sweat, tears, ligaments, bones, body parts on the line all the time. He still holds the art of what a death match is and what it's supposed to bring in terms of like in-ring and storytelling through those moments. He holds it in high regard. And if we're all, the 3 of us are D&D nerds here, so I would say that Matt Tremont is like the paladin of the death match, if you will. Like, he is not afraid to get his hands dirty, but he holds this sacred. On the other hand, you have your, Oathbreaker paladin of Otis Kogar, who went down the same path as Matt Tremont, but he was influenced by his brother, their whole faction, and he views deathmatch wrestling not in the same sacredity that Matt Tremont does, but it's a tool in order to inflict the most amount of pain and physical torture onto the opponent. Whereas Matt views it as not just a euphoric thing, but it's literally beautiful, chaotic art and a bloodied, bathed in crimson, where he views the blood and all the sweat and tears that go into it as something that's beautiful. Otis views it as just a tool and an instrument to be used to inflict as much pain as possible on the opponent. So it was really interesting. And again, this is professional wrestling. I'm reading way too much into this, but for me, I love these kinds of nuanced things because the dichotomy of Otis and Matt going up against each other set this up to be a very perfect final. And the fact that at the end of the day, while both of them pushed each other to the limits, took each other to lengths that nobody has been able to take them up to this point in their careers, it was really cool to see Matt walk away as the ultimate winner, and the sacredity of death matches was still upheld by the end of this night. So that's where I'm at with this. Great match. Probably my favorite of the entire night, but that's because I'm a big sucker for good storytelling and characterization. So there you have it. Take it with what you will.
Well said, Mikey. Well said. I will point out that during this match, we also did see the appearance of Vandal 48, and they showed up to try and help Otis. And then Joey Janela made a gingerly appearance, trying to dodge the barbed wire and get into the ring. And helped out Matt Trim out to even it out so we could continue the matchup one-on-one and get the ultimate victory. Speaking of the setups and everything that you pointed out, Adolfo, there was a lot that went into this. There was so much that we were actually watching last year's Cage of Survival final while this was happening, and we kind of split screened it so we could see them doing the setup. Which I kind of appreciate because they just hide it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Do you feel that they implemented the setup? Did they give us the payoff for the setup that we had? Was it, especially being new to death matches and everything, was that setup worth the work? And what was your impression of this match implementing those things and as the main event for this tournament?
Yeah, I feel that the artistry in which they set everything up helped the match to be just that much better. Because the first slam that we saw on those tiles, we were like, oh man, that mat is not good. Oh wow, that's gotta hurt. But then, it was just like it started to crescendo, and they started to stack. Then the two and crescendo, and then the stack and more and crescendo, and then the payoff. So it was really good. Again, all the other stuff, the tiles, the weapons, everything, perfect amount of frosting on a near perfect cake. My only complaint, and it took me the few days from our watch along to just earlier this afternoon of me actually like really going back and thinking about it. This, I felt like this whole tournament, to me, was Otis's stepping out. Okay, we know that Atticus is his I'm not even 100% sure if he's the big brother, but we know that he is the bigger star, if you will. And from all the promos and everything that I saw, it always seemed like Otis was kind of like sidekick type sitch, right? This tournament, it to me felt like Otis's stepping out, like, no. I am Otis Koger. Look at what I can do, right? I was scared. I was scared of him every time he got in the ring and he pulled out his straight razor. I was scared of him. So when Atticus shows up with some 48, I know that's not the faction name, but when they showed up, I felt it was a disservice, and I felt it disrupted the flow of the match. I would have much rathered they let the match proceed. They let the ending happen as it happened. And then at the end, if you want to have the, oh, hey, everyone, by the way, Atticus and Joey Janela are having a match tomorrow night, do that at the end. Because they came in because there was such a good flow going, and then when they came in, it just it seemed off, right? And then with Joey gingerly coming in, I'm not faulting him for coming in gingerly at all, but the way he came in and the way he like shooed off everyone else, it just at that point I felt like it disrupted the match, and I just wanted to see Tremont and Otis go at it, and smash each other on the concrete tiles, or on the paving tiles. Which again, props to the production team. Those pavers, perfectly placed. Someone had graph paper. Someone mapped that shit out. It was chef's kiss. Chef, please come over to I've trying to redo my backyard. Please come over. Show me how you did that. But yeah, that was my only complaint of this match. Was that whole spot just kind of seemed like to toss everything out. Once they got out, we went right back to it, and I was right back in it. Also, it helped that at that point the tower of paving stones was, I think, like 5 or 6 layers. And I love how they gave each other time to just like doosh, doosh. Like one guy puts 2, then they wrestle some more. The other guy comes by, he puts 2 more on, they wrestle some more. I really appreciated that whole presentation. So but yeah, it was very hard fought. Matt Tremont comes out with the win, a very heartfelt win. I was really, I know that it was a deathmatch tournament, but at the end, I got the feels. Seeing Matt Tremont win. So.
And that's what wrestling's all about, right there.
Yep.
Whatever kind of wrestling you're watching, and to answer your question earlier, this is the match where his head turned into a blood fountain.
Yes. Yeah.
And I gotta agree with you that Vandal 48 coming out, Joey Janela coming out, it did feel, especially because we hadn't seen them earlier in the tournament, it really did feel like this was Otis's chance. Like he was showing that he can go out there and wrestle. And it kind of felt like when you do have factions in some of the other promotions where like the leader of the faction goes after the world title or whatever, and then the other members go after like tag titles or secondary titles or whatever. It felt like Otis was finding his place, kind of going like, okay, well, like Atticus, you're going after that world title. Like I'm going to go after this ultraviolence title and show that like we're all dangerous. We can all do this, and like I can be my own wrestler too. So it did kind of take away from that. I did like your take on it of having maybe them come out at the end or something to continue that, like, hey, next episode,
right?
Tomorrow,
Yep.
And I do appreciate how much we were able to get back into it. It didn't feel like at the end of it stole anything away from it, but it felt unnecessary. As to steal your analogy of the cake, it was excellent frosting, excellent substance to the cake itself, but it was just someone put those little sugary, like flour things on there, the hard sugar things. You're like, I don't really need those. They don't taste good.
You're right.
Sugar,
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's not that they're bad. It's just like, we're good. Yeah.
So that did bring us to the end of night 1 of the tournament. Well, not tournament as well, but weekend of survival. I will point out that I found the fact that this was Matt Tremont's 10th deathmatch tournament.
Wow.
It's win of 10 death matches. It was just a really great build up to that. I think that's what we saw in that end, which gave you those, that reaction to seeing him win that tournament, which was awesome. But with that, the weekend was not over, and we moved into Cage of Survival 4, which was just a whole other madness of a day and exciting day. So let's jump into it. Just as they did, because they started with, not to skew your reactions, because if you disagree with me, please let me know. But I would argue it was my match of the weekend. Not just match of the night, but match of the weekend. Slade facing off against Bear Bronson, who was not only making his GCW debut, but his deathmatch debut. I I think I've already said it, that I said it's my match of the weekend, so I'll just turn it over to you two right away. But Mikey, I'm going to come to you because I know you're just a tiny bit of a fan of Van Brom, just a little bit. I think you've seen him wrestle once or twice before. What was this like, getting to see him show up in kind of a new book, debuting in GCW, getting to see him wrestle a death match, and getting to see him wrestle the match that he wrestled?
Okay, I'm gonna try to articulate my feelings into words because it goes beyond, just me excited to see him because I'm a big fan of our Bi-Con over here, Bear Bronson, and all that good stuff, right? But no, following his journey, since everything that went down in AEW and ROH with his former tag team partner and that whole situation, and then coming to find out, it took a conversation with another person to kind of understand that he didn't want to just be a yes person anymore. He wasn't okay with just being grateful to get the little TV time and being an enhancement talent for all intents and purposes. And so when it was reported that he was going to be in free agency, I was super excited. And previously to this, I got to see him in Mystery Wrestling Canada. So that was fun. But my God, this is probably my favorite match of everything that I had watched up to this weekend. And that included the Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which I was at live. This was my favorite thing that I watched last week. And probably, I'm not even going to lie, it's probably my favorite match of the month and probably the most surprisingly my favorite of the year so far for so many different reasons. Not just GCW debut, his deathmatch debut, but you can tell that his spirit and his energy were completely different. They were revitalized. Yeah, they did things in this match that was wild. We had like a scaffolding. We had, tables not breaking.
Oh God, table not
high rise.
Oh, God,
we had tables not breaking.
Yeah.
When you talk, listen, Matt Tremont bled. Both of them were covered in crimson head to toe. They walked out of Carrie, Midsummer all at once. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, but this was so good. And what I loved about this match is this crowd immediately embraced Bear and like the chance of please come back. Come back. I want him back in GCW. So GCW, please book him some more. This man deserves it. And shout out to Slade, man. Slade is a little bit of a weirdo. But I was like, you know what, Slade? You get one of these. Like, yes, sir. What a great opponent for Bear. Both of them brought something out of each other that was really fun and great to watch. So, again, my favorite match of the whole entire weekend and probably my favorite thing that I've watched this past week and probably all year so far for me.
Yeah, the Bears, he didn't surprise me, but he is such a good fit for GCW. I hope we get to see more of him in GCW and in some of the other promotions too. That he's already like you said, he's popped up in Mystery Wrestling, and hopefully we'll get to see him in some other places too. So Adolfo, you have maybe a little less familiarity than Mikey with both of these guys. So what were your feelings about this match? We had just come out of Tournament of Survival, a full night of death matches, and we basically just continued straight on to this. So in that place where, you're tacking on another one and it could feel like a bit of like, okay, I've had enough of the buffet. I need to take a break. How did this kind of jump you back into watching GCW for the weekend, and what were your impressions of these two?
So, not going to lie, leading up to this, that's where I was at. I was like, man, I've had a lot in this buffet. I think, I don't know. But this match got me.
Unbutton these pants, bro. Unbutton these pants.
No, that's what it was. That voice came in. I was like, you need to unbutton those pants and you need to freaking tits out and watch out for the shoe, dag nabbit, and just do it. And I was not disappointed. Mikey, was it on Monday that you helped me make the realization that this Bear Bronson was the ROH Bear
Yep,
Bronson?
sure did. We had this
I
conversation earlier in the week. You're just like, hold up, wait a minute. Is it the
Yeah,
same one? And it was like, yes, sir.
until and that is how much of a 180 Bear Bronson has done. I and I enjoyed the Iron Savages. I enjoyed his characterization when he was on ROH, right? No clue. No clue that was the same Bear Bronson until Mikey mentioned it, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, it's
Man.
wild. This is a complete 180-degree transformation in this man, and for the better, I might add.
And I love it. Yeah, totally. I love this new look for Bear Bronson. Slade was a great opponent for him. Yeah, man, the table spot, and then when they went up on the
This is it.
scaffolding, and the scaffolding's shaking, we're like, oh god. It was so good. It added to that. It added to that whole anticipation. It was really good. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this. I enjoyed it. It's not up in like my top matches of the weekend or of the year, but I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again to see if maybe now with some time, and some separation, if I have different thoughts, because yeah, I was coming in with that like, man, it's been a lot of fucking wrestling this weekend, and then like to get smacked in the face, by this match and reinvigorated, was great, but I still was kind of, at least in the beginning, was watching it with those tired eyes. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. This, I really hope we get to see more Bear Bronson. Slade is one of those wrestlers that, since seeing him in GCW, has really surprised me, especially because he doesn't stand out for your traditional wrestling reasons, but he definitely makes himself memorable. But I thought this was a great way to open up the night. We'll kind of speed through some of these next couple of matches because they were quicker matches, and I feel like they kind of were there for certain points, and we got through those. But our next match was Charles Mason facing off against Jamie Lynn Senegal.
Shout out to Jamie for following us back on the Instagram. Love her. Love them.
Right.
So,
girl, man, I hope you get a cup of coffee and you can actually finish it one day. Golly.
We last saw Jamie Lynn Senegal at Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Charles Mason has been a terror everywhere he shows up, between GCW, HOG, and everywhere else. This was our first match of the weekend at GCW that wasn't a death match.
Yep.
It was a good, entertaining match, singles match and everything, but I definitely feel like this match was set up to what happened at the end.
Yes.
Johnson picked up the victory and then continued to attack Jamie Lynn Senegal with its tie, choking her, prompting Effie to come out and get a showdown between the two of them. Did any of you all have any specific feelings about this match or about the promo that led to what we now know will be Charles Mason getting a world title shot against Effie?
At Bash of the Ballpark, no less, too.
It's going to be such
Yep.
awesome thing.
Yep. I am bummed I didn't get to see Jamie Lynn wrestle more. Because when I saw Jamie Lynn wrestle in Vegas weekend, they did the fantastic characterization of being hungover with the glasses and all that, and they worked so well in that match. It was fantastic, right? So to actually see them wrestle in this match, I was like, yeah, get it. But then I felt it got robbed from me.
Mm.
I would have appreciated, and overall, I will say that Cage of Survival felt more like a wrestling show than the tournament did. So I can, from a production standpoint, I understand why.
Mhm.
The match had to be so short, but I would have really appreciated if you're still gonna do the whole setup for Mason versus Effie. Fine, I wanted to see Jamie Lynn wrestle more and get some more licks in, and I mean these types of licks, not that type
I
of lick.
mean, it's GCW. You can get them both.
Fair.
Mikey, any thoughts?
Charles Mason has been a very busy man. I got to see him twice in one weekend because I also got to see him enter himself as the third person to make it a triple threat for the House of Glory World Championship. And shout out to Charles Mason for being our new champ. He beat Tomohiro Ishii and Mike Santana, bringing Mike Santana's 583-day reign as Hog World Champion to an end. I'm excited to see, like we talked about during the stream, I'm really excited for Bash in the Ballpark in general because of all the talent that's going to be involved. But the fact that it's going to be Charles Mason versus Effie, which is a matchup we have not seen really too much since covering GCW like this. So I like that we're getting new folks challenging Effie for these titles as well. Because Effie has defended this thing against his friends like Maki and Manders and Dark Sheik at Big Gay Brunch. But now we're getting to see him fight other people we don't normally get to see him fight. So this match was a lot of fun. Again, I say this again, Jamie Lynn Senegal, thank you for following us back. We love you. You are a queen, an icon. And shout out to the Taya Valkyrie Fuzzy Boots.
Yeah. My last thing for this match, mind blown when Jamie Lynn's wig came off.
Icon.
Go ahead.
Wrestled through it, though. Wrestled through it
like a champ. Wanted to see more.
It's a professional right there.
Yep.
So we moved on from this match after we got the confirmation of the title match at Battle at the Ballpark. And we moved on to a classic GCW multi-person match, which in this case was a trios match with the GCW Tag Team Champions, YDNP, teaming up with Charlie Tiger, facing off against Jade Lucas, Jeffrey John, and Teriyaki, Team Terry. As you can see here, obviously YDNP came out victorious. I don't think that was a surprise. This was your classic trios multi-person match from GCW, getting some of those names in there like we talked about, but also getting some action and getting to feature our tag team champions, which was nice. We had all the champions for GCW present on this card, which was I appreciate in some form or another. Wouldn't have hated a tag team title match, but also I don't know that we necessarily needed one, especially because this was a quicker match. Adolfo, I'm going to come back to you on this one again specifically because this introduced a lot of people to you that I think you were pretty unfamiliar with. Real quick, what was your impression of the action of this match? Was it a fun, quick, spot fest kind of match for you? Was it enjoyable for you?
Yes, it was enjoyable. Yes, it was a spot match. Yes, it was quick. Yes, this was my introduction to a lot of these wrestlers. I want to preface this by saying I mainly watch Lucha Libre and CMLL, where the trios matches is kind of a cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
You actually tend to see more trios matches as opposed to like mano a mano, one-on-one or tag team matches. And the way that the trios matches are set up and whatnot, I'm spoiled with that. So that, that being said, this was good. This was good. I enjoyed it.
Mikey, what were your thoughts, real quick, on this? You were much more familiar with all 6 of these competitors. Um, did it deliver on what it was there for you?
I think it did. Anytime I get to see Teriyaki is really good because I feel like he is very underutilized, and being introduced to him when we were all covering ROH together was a lot of fun. I think he's really good. I think the tag team he has developed quite some time because we last time I saw Teriyaki at least was I also think he was at the Nick Gage Invitational too, in that kind of scramble match, which was a lot of fun. And Alec Price is him. Like, honestly, there's a reason I picked him to be like my breakout star of 2024, and he continues to prove so. He's just so good. But the whole tag team is so good. This was a fun palate cleanser, and this was a nice way to be like, all right, we got lots of things scheduled, but here's a surprise match, and go out and have fun. And that's exactly what we did. We would see our tag team champs come out a little bit later because chaos was abound.
Lordy.
I cannot wait to talk about that. But this was a fun one.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was what it was, and it did what it needed to do. It was fun, and yeah, like you said, we got to see Alec Price wrestle, which is always so fun. And I think my favorite part was watching Adolfo react to the things that Alex Price does in the ring.
Yes. Yeah.
Same.
But we moved on from this to what I thought was another phenomenal match, especially in death matches. A phenomenal wrestling match. And this
match gets one of these. It gets the gay salt wag. Yes.
And to your point earlier, Adolfo, that you talked about with Shotzi, I think this was another chance, and I'll come to you again. I know I keep coming to you first, but you're fresh to this, so it's nice to get your fresh input. But this was another chance for you to really see not an intergender match, but a wrestling match that involved different genders. And this was Masha Slamovich, who has just been on a tear over a year now, defending the GCW World Championship.
Jersey championship.
Jersey, not to be confused with the other.
Not Gigolo.
Yep. No. That's another person.
Make that distinction for later.
Yeah, that'll get confusing. If
Juggalo, not Gigolo, because Gigolo is a whole different
I was Juggalo,
podcast.
right? My bad.
Yeah, Gigolo Championship Wrestling is something very different. But she was defending against the formerly known as Fuego del Sol, KJ Orso, coming in and really having his first real match since dropping the mask, and getting a big match here against Masha. So, Adolfo, what was your impression of this more straightforward match for the JCW World title, seeing Masha defend against someone like KJ?
So, I want to start by talking about KJ, because we really talked about this on the live stream, how he has really embraced the loss of the mask and coming out with this new persona that he's coming out, very arrogant, very, I propped this company up when I had the mask and you people didn't care, I don't need your cheers now type thing. But he's playing it really well, right? Because there's a few other wrestlers and a few other companies that are kind of doing that same type of shtick, and to me, it's not landing with me the way that they're presenting it. But with KJ, especially seeing the package of him attacking his best friend and all that, I'm into this new look KJ. These two wrestlers now, moving on to the actual match itself. Wow, these two wrestlers went at it, and it was fantastic. To me, this match actually is sitting at the top of one of my top matches of the weekend. Maybe even also breaking into my matches of the year. I was so pleased to see Masha and KJ go at it. and it not just be like, as has been done in other promotions, oh, here's a female wrestling a male. Ooh, no. They went at it. These two laid lumber into each other. And this is my first. I saw Masha briefly on a TNA show that I watched last year. No, earlier this year. No, last year. It was the first Hardy House.
Mm-hmm.
The compound visit.
Yeah,
Yes. They're so ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah. Masha in that show, Masha had a match. It was really short. So this was the first time that I really got to see Masha Slamovich be Masha Slamovich, and it was fantastic. I've new fan, new appreciation for Masha. Did know that this whole Jersey Championship Wrestling is a thing. I'm trying to find it so I can watch it more because I am in Jersey. So
YouTube and Triller.
Yep.
In fact, there's an event going on right now as we speak.
Man, don't tell me that because I go to bed after this. Anyway,
watch it for breakfast tomorrow. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I will. But yeah, great match, loved it. It was, also the fact that it was a wrestling match interposed with all these other, death matches and chaotic whatever the next invasion things and what we had great wrestling match. Yeah, loved it.
All right, I'll come quickly to you, Mikey. We are very familiar with Masha here. Both being myself formerly being a TNA host, and you obviously still following TNA. KJ, we've known, we've seen it for a while, especially as Fuego del Sol.
Yeah.
I know you had talked about when this match was starting of kind of being okay with if KJ did dethrone Masha and win that title. Obviously, that didn't happen. Masha retains. And we got some involvement with Sam afterwards, which was really good continuation of the storytelling. Just real quickly, what were your thoughts on this match as a match in of itself? And what were your thoughts of how this kind of impacts KJ's story going forward with Sam?
This was a really solid match. Like I said when we talked about this prior with the show starting, this was one of my anticipated matches only because I think their styles are very similar, and just again the transformation from Fuego del Sol to KJ was really fantastic. I know Masha's always good for wrestling. I mean, she's always here defending this thing, and she can work with anybody. Literally, she has fought various sizes and shapes of people, from giants like Galeno Del Mal to like the more gimmicky stuff in like Santana Jackson was a crazy match to watch, but I loved her versus Santana Jackson. And just not even just a GCW, she's just a solid wrestler in her home company at TNA. And again, I love that she's always bringing her TNA Knockouts championship. And I'm excited. I cannot wait to see Masha defend this. I have to see who she's fighting in the next couple of shows, but she has a lot of good opponents coming up, so I can't wait. This is a solid match. I like seeing Sam come in and continuing that progression for KJ and Sam's story, which we're probably going to see later in the summer.
Well, and I will point out to Masha's future opponents, we still have the underlying story thread that we haven't seen pay off yet of the Foxcatcher, who has been someone that's been targeting Masha. So if you haven't seen that, you can go back and catch a couple of clips and promos on the GCW social media and stuff and see who this person that's been kind of cyber stalking Masha and trying to get some bounties on her to go after that title. So we definitely have some stories that are continuing on with both of these folks. So we're going to jump into our next match, which is a tag team death match. And because Well, three of these competitors didn't really have anything else that they were busy having done this weekend. So why not give them a tag team death match? Because I'm sure they're not exhausted at all. But this was Daiju Wakamatsu teaming up with Dr. Redacted, taking on Mr. Danger, who we saw all three of them in the Tournament of Survival, and Mr. Danger was teaming up with Lil Sicko. Mikey, I'll come to you first on this one. This match was, for me going into this match, I was like, okay, this is another filler match. But it surprised me. What were your thoughts on these two tag teams and this match itself?
This is just a lot of fun too. Again, and Adolfo commented on this. It's just Daiju just wearing the same thing that he wore the night before was fun. And this was my first real introduction to Lil Sicko, which is the hottest new rapper on the scene. No, I was kidding. No, but I really enjoyed this. Mr. Danger and Lil Sicko made a really fun team. These four were really great in utilizing the ring and the space around it to do all sorts of things, tables, light tubes, you name it. It was fantastic. And this was just a fun, like, hardcore death match kind of shtick. It'd be like, all right, we still got lots of matches, but here's this one. And again, thank you, Dr. Redacted, for having this available on your social media so we can use the card for it.
So jumping over to you quickly, Adolfo, we had the trios match earlier, which was a crazy high-paced team matchup that isn't limited by your traditional tag team or singles style matches. And we jumped into this match where you had already been introduced to three of these four people. I think we were all pretty new to Lil Sicko. What were your impressions of this match, getting to see some of these tournament entrants wrestle as tag teams and then wrestle in another tag team death match?
I really enjoyed. I got one last go around with these three, and I really enjoyed that I got introduced to Lil Sicko. But I love it when on these multi-day events, tournament events, that on the last day they'll have like what I call showcase, where they'll bring the talent that didn't win, but showcase them in a match on the final day, which I feel like that's what happened here. So I was really happy to get another viewing, if you will, of Daiju Wakamatsu, Dr. Redacted, Mr. Danger, and Little Sicko. Daiju Wakamatsu and Dr. Redacted, like, they should become a tag team. Just saying.
Daiju.
Yeah. Dr. Daiju, that'd be. And I loved how Dr. Redacted was kind of like Daiju's senpai, and showing him, like, he showed him how to how to jump into people when they were going around, and like, and Daiju was like eating it up, and I feel by the end of the match that these two were crowd favorites. So yeah, I mean, make them a tag team, make them a thing. Make it Dr. Daiju. Let's do it.
We got to see a collection event where we get to see these two go around, and basically Dr. Redacted takes Daiju through all the American Deathmatch Wrestling stuff, and then he's kind of that, like, his like tour guide, translator, and all that kind of stuff to those things. And then they go to Japan, and it's roles reversed, and we get to
that would be awesome.
The odd couple of deathmatch wrestling, but yeah, this was a fun match. Amazing ending with that elbow drop curb stamp into the into the light tubes, and Daiju Wakamatsu and Dr. Redacted come out victorious. So we jump onto this with, it was basically the first of our three big end matches of the evening. Surprisingly long match. It was a dog collar match between Atticus Kogar and Joey Janela. I don't think it was a surprise that Christian Napier and Otis Kogar showed up.
Nope.
So we got to see this match go down. We got to see some of the classic dog collar style setups, and eventually some of the interference. Ultimately, Atticus Cogar comes out victorious. Um, unless, I'll jump to both of you and kind of get your quick input on what this match had going on in it as far as the match went. And then we can chat a little bit about what happened afterwards. So, Mikey, why don't you go first?
Cool. I'll make it quick. I have 3 points. Number one, I always love a good dog collar match. I still hold the dog collar match between FTR and Briscoes as one of my favorites in recent memory, because that's how you do a tag team match correctly. Number two, I love that this was the culmination of the story we've been telling since Atticus's return at the Nick Gage Invitational, all the way back towards the tail end of 2024, which is great. And I didn't mind the interference. It made sense because Atticus and has his family to help him out, his brother and Christian as well. This was a really, really fun match. I will admit it was a little bit longer than it. Maybe we could have shaved off 5 minutes and we still could have got the same impact. But I still had a good. I had a great time with this, and for me personally, it's been really nice to see that despite the heat that Joey has been getting leading into this because of what happened at spring break in Vegas and the internet not being fair to him and all that good stuff with Sabu and everything. It's nice to see him kind of be able to still put on a really good show. So
yeah,
this is great.
Yep.
Adolfo?
So unfortunately, this was the match that I had to go and put my son to bed. So I missed a good portion of it. I'm bummed that Joey Janela lost. I wanted to see Joey win, just so he could put Atticus in his place, especially after that very artistic and well done intro for Atticus, where you had very cinematic.
His intros are so out there. I love it.
Yeah, with the whole, the whole SWAT team, they come in and the mask that he came in wearing, the Joey Janela mask with the Joey Janela sunglasses. It was. I thoroughly appreciate Atticus Cogar as the artist that he is. They are. I'm not sure what pronouns they use, but I want to see Joey Janela win. I want to see Joey Janela win because Atticus is such a good artist and because he presented just like that whole sleazy, like evil side. Like I wanted Joey to win, and he didn't. So.
Well, we'll jump into that because Atticus Cogar did come out victorious, though it took quite a bit of work, and that led to Christian Napier and Otis Cogar bringing out a barbed wired cross and chaining Joey Janela to it, and then proceeding to stab him with every barbecue skewer I think they had in New Jersey.
May the power of Joey Janela compel you.
I still can't find any of those things.
Those and light tubes. Jersey's going to be out of those for a while.
Yes.
But I think what we saw was really the setup for the promo that Atticus cut at the end of this, where he basically just called out everything. He put Joey Janela on blast about being Joey Janela is the one that basically came in and shut down his title shot. Got him kicked out of GCW. The person he blames for this is why he's gone after him. He went after Megan Bain. He's gone after Flair of the Soul. He's gone after all these people and really been trying to tear down like the heart and the backbone of GCW to get to his ultimate goal, which is around the waist of Effie, and being the second person in the evening to challenge Effie for that GCW world title. So he's looking at coming after that world title. And I think that's really what that ending built us up to, and why we saw Atticus Cogar walk out victorious. And even though the match itself was pretty long, I thought they had a very powerful image at the end of it with Joey Janela in the background being crucified on the barbed wire cross, and Vandal 48 taking over the ring itself. All in all, I think it paid for what it needed to. I do agree with you, similar to the main event from the first night, that there could have been a few things cut from this that could have made it a little quicker and more concise.
Cool.
With that, we'll move on to well, I'll call it what it was listed as. The 8-man tag team match, which was Team GCW versus Team JCW. So for GCW, we had the world champion Effie, the ultraviolet champion Matt Tremont. We had John Wayne Murdoch and Jimmy Lloyd taking on Team JCW, which was Juggalo Championship Wrestling, which was Too Tough Tony, Mickey Knuckles, and the Brothers of Funstruction, which were Yabo and Ruffo. And I know it does say with Violent J, but I don't remember Violent J actually coming back.
Violent J didn't make an appearance.
I do know that we got a video package before this seeing the invasion, as it were, of JCW by GCW, which kind of continued on this back and forth. And we know that GCW is going to show up at the Gathering of Juggalos and do the 2-night war at JCW versus GCW. I'm going to go over real quick of the list of people that we saw in this, and then I'm going to get your top 3 moments from each of you, quick bullet points, things that stood out from you. So for Team GCW, we also had one called Manders, Alec Price, Dr. Redacted, Jordan Oliver, and Masha Slamovich show up. For Team JCW, we had Alice Crowley, Danny Moe, JP Grayson, Shane Mercer, which was a surprise turn, Tommy Grayson, Violent J, and Willie Mack. This ended in a no contest because the actual match itself probably went for about 2 minutes. And then it just turned into chaos. So, Mikey, I'm going to jump to you because I've been jumping to Adolfo first a lot. What were your top 3 bullet point moments of this match? What stands out to you when you look back at this and makes you giggle or makes you go,
So easily my top 3 moments included Masha going up against the JCW Women's Championship, and hopefully that will be a match at the 2-day war. Effie pulling a Mr. Danger and jumping off a truck. And then just everybody going into the actual streets and fighting with cars and a police car. It was wild.
Yeah.
All right, Adolfo, how about you?
My top 3 moments of this match. Oh man, Matt Tremont actually getting to relax a little bit. That was 1. 2, the whole parking lot before they got out, the whole parking lot boondoggle, if you will, with Effie jumping off that one RV or van or whatever the hell it was. And then 3, that one car just kind of like barreling through, completely not, realizing what was going on. You could tell it was live TV. You could tell that was totally unscripted. Thank God no one got clipped by that person. Yeah, those are my top 3 moments. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think this match did what it needed to do, which was just continue to build up that hype and that energy and that madness that we're going to get from the 2-night war. It was enjoyable, and it has me looking forward to those showdowns.
Yes.
I told Mikey in a text message earlier, I've got to go catch up on the 2 episodes of JCW Lunacy, which, if you have any interest in JCW, they have a weekly show on YouTube, which actually they release, I think it's 2 episodes a day that they release episodes. So go and watch it. I'm pretty sure right now we're going to see quite a bit of at least tie-in with the GCW action because we're leading up to that. So we can go and check that out. But the Gathering of Juggalos is going to be pretty crazy. But with that, we move on to our main event, which was the Cage of Survival matchup between former tag team partners Miedo Extremo and Ciclope. We've been watching this really since the crumbling of this tag team Mikey and I have been watching it for quite a while. As Mikey, who just can't handle talking about this, so you have to turn his camera off. And we got quite a few promos leading us up to this showdown here. And we've seen Cyclope in GCW wrestling quite a bit lately in singles matches, trying to kind of remake himself as a single star once again after ending this long-term tag team with Miedo Extremo. So I'll come to you first, Adolfo. As we, kind of prepped onto this, obviously there was a lot of setup that went into this. It's a very unique structure, lots of implements being put into that.
Lots of overhangs.
Yes.
With all the trussels and everything. And then the mystery thing that got brought in, which put the glass pane, the pane, it? It was glass door.
It was door with light tubes on the top, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So,
sorry. Go ahead.
As someone who was new to this feud, coming into it, catching up through the promos, introductions, coming into this, I will point out something that I've heard pointed out. That was something that you obviously noticed and pointed out as it was happening. The introductions to this were done in Spanish, which was awesome for both of these native Spanish-speaking competitors. But what was your feeling coming into this, being new to it, just being introduced kind of in the promo packages, and then getting to see these two people wrestle each other and have this style of match?
It made me feel good. From the get-go when, just number one, again, the whole setup added to that anticipation, right? Because you're just like, what are they going? What is going to happen in there? So that's number one. Number two, the fact that they were all announced in Spanish, and that ring announcer, I don't know their name. I know that I'm assuming that they're a staple in GCW. Yeah, because I've seen them previously. Was he an expert linguist? No, but he said the things, and it made me feel so good inside. My only regret. This was my match of the weekend. My only sadness, if you will, is that I had to come in at the very last. I couldn't actually see the build up. I mean, yeah, I can go back and watch it, but I feel, because I felt so good watching this match, and at the end, watching them mend that rift that had happened. Dare I say, I think Miedo is technically retired. I mean, that he kind of made some statements. Yeah, he made statements to that end. So, there's a question mark on that. But I'm sad that I didn't get to in real time see the build up to this, because this was just so good. It was just so good, and you could tell that these two, they were giving their heart into this match, and that to me is what really elevates a match, is when both wrestlers are just giving their heart for the match. So
awesome. Yeah, no, and there's only one solution I have for you, Adolfo, on this is you just got to keep watching GCW, so you don't have any other future exactly. Like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I'll come over to you, Mikey. You have been watching this, I think, pretty much since the beginning of the destruction of this tag team, Los Macizos. What did you think of this as a payoff a culminating event of these two brothers facing off against each other.
I think it was a nice bow to kind of tie up the like month-long story, year-long story that
Yeah,
we've been telling, essentially. So I feel like this was really, 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 it was nice. This was violent. I loved it. Cyclope is one of my favorites too in GCW, and this was a really nice way to kind of wrap up this story. They went to war. They made up as brothers can only do after duking it out. And only what GCW can, which is death, like a cage of survival match. I thought this was a fun way to end the show, and while I still think Bear Bronson and Slade was my favorite of Cage of Survival and my favorite from the whole weekend, this is a close second, and I think that's because while it was a little bit of a slower pace, none of the movements felt wasted or anything like that. So this was a really fun way to end the weekend for sure.
Awesome. Well, with that, that brought us to the end of Cage of Survival 4 as well as Weekend of Survival. If you want to know my grade, you can see the report cards since I am the one that does the report cards for GCW, JCW events. But I'll come to each of you quickly. Just give me a quick tag of what your impression was of the weekend and what you would have given as a overall grade for either of shows individually, or you can do both as the weekend as a whole. So as we want to do, Adolfo, I'm going to come to you first.
Sure. New fan to GCW coming into this. This is my first tournament survival, my first Cage of Survival, my first survival weekend. I survived survival weekend. I want more. I want more. So I feel that is a sign of the success of the weekend, of the wrestling that I watched this weekend. This was definitely, both shows were my favorite. Cage of Survival, I felt like since it was the more typical, dare I say, wrestling show, I did feel like there were, some pacing issues, if you want to call them that. Of the two shows, the Tournament of Survival was my favorite, just because it was just like deathmatch, building up the ring. Oh my God, what are they gonna do? Deathmatch, So that was definitely cool. Yeah, it was a great weekend overall. If I'm gonna give it a grade, I'm gonna give it an A. I'm gonna give it an A.
Nice. Mikey?
Wow, so we just throwing A's out here like they mean nothing. No, just kidding. No, I think I would give this whole entire weekend a solid A minus, B plus, but more leaning towards the A minus. Again, I think because we are still, all of us, even though Adolfo, you are the newest one. Andrew's been doing this a little bit longer. I myself will be coming up to a year this upcoming August of GCW coverage, so I'm still getting to experience all these marquee events for the first time. And so this was great. Like, just like I said during our Nick Gage Invitational watch along and, the review for it too, there is an art form in death matches, and it's helped me kind of come to an appreciation of what GCW does. And I will be the first to admit, as Andrew has heard me say numerous amount of times, the more I watch GCW, my preconceived notions of what GCW was, because before this, the only thing that people talked about with GCW is like, this is where everyone goes to bleed and have death matches and all sorts of stuff. But this year has shown me that it's much more than that. Yes, there's a lot of death matches, don't get it twisted, but it is a solid group of individuals. It's a solid roster of people, and the fact that GCW gets to be working with some other promotions that include Defy and Progress. They are going to Japan. They were in England and France earlier this year, mingling it up with Progress and BZW. Like, it's so much fun, and I think this is another like marquee event for GCW that I've come to love and enjoy, and I look forward to everything. Seriously.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. I had a lot of fun. I had even more fun the fact that I got to enjoy it with both of you. So I definitely look forward to the next time we get to do that. As was pointed out, I got to go catch up on some JCW because they had an event today. So I look forward to watching that. Shameful plug for someone who's not giving us a sponsorship, but who knows, maybe someday. If you have any interest in watching GCW or any of the other independent wrestling that we talk about consistently, check out Triller TV Plus. You can do it for a free trial period, and it's definitely worth it. There's so much to watch on there. Go check it out, and definitely check out GCW. But with that, I will hand the reins back over to Mikey to take us out and say goodbye for the night.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate both of you being up here. This is a very long review that we're not going to take too much longer because we've sat here for 2 hours and Adolfo's dying over here to get to bed. So we're going to send this man to bed. But really quickly, I do want to go over what the remainder of this week looks like without going into too much detail. Tomorrow evening, back at our regular time of 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, the Six-Sided Scholars will be back. That is the TNA pay-per-view squad of myself, Will, JT, and our new mystery fourth co-host. We will be reviewing the Against All Odds pay-per-view, as well as briefly touching upon the June 12th episode of TNA that aired tonight. So that's going to be fun. Saturday, you will have a miniature bite-sized review from myself, reviewing Mike Santana Presents Puerto Rican Weekend for House of Glory. Fantastic event. And more importantly, on Sunday, the WWE crew, the Dual Dynasty crew, is back to review the post-Money in the Bank Raw and SmackDown as we gear up towards Night of Champions, which we will not be covering because of where it is located. All right, Adolfo is dying, so we love y'all, but we got to get this man to bed. So remember, from all of us here, we will be back in July to do the GCW Goes to Japan events. So we're going to be reviewing those events in July. Andrew and I will be back next Friday, though, because we will be doing Defy Vortex, which Marina Shafir is about to whoop all the ass, which is going to be so much fun to watch. But thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. Take care of yourself. Remember, you are Bi-Conic. We are Bi-Conic. You deserve to finish your story. And until next time, take care of yourself. Love yourself. Love one another. Take care of each other in these trying times. And we'll see you later. But until then, ta-ta for now.